Hello, I'm David Freeman with Is That Really in the Bible? I want to do a video here of using, specifically for the churches of God, and that is anybody that has a ministry or the work of evangelism. Basically, the title of this is Using Social Media for the Purpose of Outreach, the purpose of getting a message to the world, the purpose of evangelism. And I want to give you some pointers to go on about this very subject of using the many outlets there are for using social media to get a message to the world. Now, when I think about, okay, what is the difference between a Christian today and a Christian 2,000 years ago? Well, actually, as far as what they had to use for the purpose of outreach, it's a huge difference between the two. There's a verse in Acts 17 and verse 6 says this, "And when they found them not, they drew Jason and certain brethren unto the rulers of the city, crying, These that have turned the world upside down are come hither also." Now, I love this verse. In other words, they're looking at these people and they're saying, these people right here have turned the world upside down. How did they do it? How did they do it? Was it the fact that they had more passion? Did they have better goals than the Church of God has today? Was there more of a purpose-driven work that they were involved in? Were they more excited? Were there less distractions? Well, definitely less distractions than we have today. Did they have more of God's Spirit? I tell you what I think they had. They had creativity. And they used their creativity. In other words, they utilized what they had at the time. And with their creativity, they used what they had. And they were able to turn the world upside down. Now, let's consider what they did not have. They did not have AM or FM radio. They did not have television. They did not have cell phones. They did not have the internet. They did not have Facebook, Twitter, Google, Instagram. They did not have YouTube, GodTube, Vimeo, SoundCloud. Any of the social medias that we have today, they didn't have any of this. Okay, and they were able to turn the world upside down. At least that's what they were accused of, which is a very good thing of being accused of. These people, this church, this Church of God, these people have turned the world upside down. That's quite a compliment, by the way. Now, here's what I believe. If we could resurrect the Apostle Paul today, and we could show him what we have at our disposal, if we could show him, look, we've got the internet, we've got Facebook, we've got Google, we've got Twitter, we've got YouTube, we've got GodTube, Vimeo, SoundCloud, we've got Pinterest, we've got Instagram, we've got, if we could show him everything that we have, and much of which these things are free. Now, I know television isn't free, but I'll talk more about that in a little bit. But much of these things are they'd be considered social media. They're out there for anybody to use. But if we could take the Apostle Paul, if we could resurrect the Apostle Paul and say, look at what we have, and then he would look at what we're doing, he would be ashamed of us. He would be totally ashamed of us. And he would say, you have all of this technology. Where are your workers? Where are your laborers? Jesus said the harvest is truly plenteous, but the laborers are few. And I tell you something. I tell you what is the problem with a lot of us. A lot of us are sitting around waiting to get permission. We're thinking, okay, I've got to ask. Or we're waiting around for someone to give us the okay. Or I've got to get permission to do this. Listen, by the time you get permission, you'll be dead. Christ will have returned by the time you get permission, by the time you get the okay, you can go ahead and do this. Now, I'll tell you what I believe. I believe that we have been called for such a time as this. You know, timing is everything. It really is. And unless you somehow slip into that perfect timing, you will let these opportunities slip by us. Timing is everything. There's a time for everything. You know, the Bible says there's a time for everything. And you got to have good timing. And I think today is that period of the time is right now for such a time as this. And if we, either we will take advantage of this opportunity or we will let it slip past us. Either we will take advantage of it, that good timing, which is now, or we will let it slip by us. Your future audience, listen, your future audience is bigger than you think. Yeah, I'm talking to you. You a layperson, you a minister, you whoever you are. I'm talking to you. Your future audience is way bigger than you ever imagined. The potential size of your audience 10 years from now is staggering. Absolutely staggering if you have a plan of action, if you persevere, if you start doing some of the things I'm going to be sharing with you in this video. And a lot of ifs there, I realize. Let's consider this. In 2050, there will be 9.7 billion people in the world. Population will increase by 35% in the next 35 years. Now, I know a lot of people, well, we probably won't last that long. Okay, we may not, but we don't know. But I'm just saying, population growth is rapidly expanding. Population will increase to 35% in the next 35 years. 2050, 9.7 billion people in the world, and technology is becoming cheaper and more accessible to all people. More people will be online, which means more people in your audience as we look into the future. Again, the timing is critical. Okay, this is Sean McCain from Sean West TV. I want to quote something from him right here. He says, "The people you know of now have been working hard for the past 8 to 10 years, but you're only just now hearing of them." Okay, he goes on. He says, now, the people you will know in 10 years are people you've never heard of, who are working hard right now. Now, what is critical is, that little statement, working hard right now. Maybe you haven't heard of them right now, but in 10 years from now, you're going to hear about these people. And it takes perseverance, persistence, and perseverance. Persistence and perseverance is what it takes. Now, we would be literally crazy not to invest our efforts right now to set yourself up for the next decade. The next 10 years, I believe, will be critical, absolutely critical for the churches of God. And either we're going to take advantage of this, the timing of this, or we're just going to let it slip right past us. Okay, outreach and personal evangelism. I think in the next 10 years, those two, outreach and personal evangelism, we're going to be able to do this in a way that you've never dreamed of, that you never really dreamed possible, that is outreach and personal evangelism. The power of the church has always been in its members, not the leadership, okay? We need to understand this. The power of the church has always been within its members, actually the lay people, not its leadership. When it comes to the truth, God is not going to let this world go out without a bang. Without a bang. It's going to be, God's not going to let this world die in ignorance. There is going to be a witness and a warning. And I think that witness and warning is not going to come from the centralized church organizations. I know we keep looking and wishing and then hoping, okay, somebody will do something, but it's not going to come from them. This opportunity for evangelism, personal evangelism, it's going to come from the members of the church of God. the lay people. Yes, you. It's going to come from you. And I don't know about you, but I want to be a part of the bang. You know, God's not going to let this nation just sort of die out like a flickering candle that's flickering back and forth in the wind, and all of a sudden it just blows out, and that's the end of us as a nation. No, there's going to be a message. There's going to be a witness and warning. And I want to be a part of the bang. Mordecai said to Esther, "And who knows whether thou art come to the kingdom for such a time as this." Oh, I love that statement. And you know, he was talking to a woman, okay? One person. You've been called for such a time as this. Now, I didn't say your organization has been called for such a time as this. I didn't say your church has been called for such a time as this. I said you have been called for such a time as this. The next 10 years will be critical when it comes to the work of outreach and evangelism, and I think you're going to be amazed at what can be accomplished. Okay, we're talking about you getting a message to the world. You getting a message to the world. Now, I'll show you this picture here. I love this picture. I was thinking about painting this on the inside of my garage door, but it's like a picture of your window to the world. In other words, you have to think a certain way, that you have an ability to communicate to the world using social media, and much of which is free, absolutely free. Now, here's another picture that I have. This is a model that I sometimes show people, but it's a camera connected to and plugged in to an earth, a little globe of the earth there. It's a model that I have that I think sort of illustrates what we're talking about here. You know, your ability to communicate to the world. Now, I'm going to explain how to do this also. I'm going to explain how to do this. But before we get started, there's another thing that we've got to understand. And here it is. People don't notice announcements. They notice consistency. And this is actually another quote from Sean McCabe, but I love this quote here. People don't notice announcements. I'm reminded of a story of a couple guys in a church who put, they were going to have this talk about the Sabbath day, and they, months in advance, they ran their ads, they rented their building, big discussion about which day is a Sabbath or something like that. I forget what it was. A couple of guys, and they spent a lot of money, ran the ads, rented the building. It came down to the final wire. It was time to get started, and no one showed up. But my point is, again, people don't notice announcements. You can't just put something out there and then just sit back and wait to reap the harvest. People don't notice announcements. They notice consistency. And what we're talking about, before, there's going to have to be a level of commitment if you're going to do this or not. A certain level of commitment. Saturation, perseverance. Saturation, perseverance. People don't notice announcements. This is not something that you're going to, just put out there one time. This is consistent. This is saturation. This is perseverance. People don't notice announcements. They notice consistency. Okay, I want to tell you a little bit about what I do. First of all, I'm just one person, and I came up with a creative idea called "Is That Really in the Bible?" It was to be a 30-minute program that I air on the local cable stations. And keep in mind, the thought, I'm convinced as God's people, there are all kinds of opportunities that come our way. There's all types of things that we sometimes think about doing, but never get around to doing. And so this idea, is that really in the Bible? It was going to be a controversial program, even though I'm not a controversial person. And of course, I have the Church of God Rocky Mount. I serve the Church of God Rocky Mount, and they fund this work called "Is That Really in the Bible?" And the idea originally was, I see things in pictures. imagery. Every picture tells a story. And so originally, the idea was if I was going to talk about the resurrection, I wanted it to be standing in a cemetery lot. And I realized moving the camera around and all that stuff was way too much trouble. And then I stumbled across the idea of chroma key, or the green screen, using a green screen. And this technology has been around a long time. It's what your weatherman uses. And it's a little bit more complicated than what I have set up here. But what's cool about it is, once you learn how to do it, and when I started, I didn't know anything about it. I just purchased some tutorials, videos, DVDs that taught me how to do this, studied it for myself. But what's cool about it is this. The green screen, when you shoot in front of the green screen, you replace that green screen with whatever image or video that you want. So if I'm talking about the resurrection from the dead, I'm going to have a cemetery, lot behind me as I talk about this subject. I could be standing in front of the ocean. I could be and have waves coming in, because you replace that green screen with whatever image that you want. It's also cool for putting up scripture quotes. You can fade out and go to a scripture reference. So this system sort of works for me. And whatever subject I'm talking about, you will see a picture in the background that sort of relates to the subject that I'm talking about. So for me, this was important, and so it's something I decided to do. And again, I didn't get permission. I didn't ask anybody, can I do this? I just said, I'm going to do this and see what happens. Now, another thing that I do, once I record my 30-minute program, I cut the program up into 4-minute messages. So I have, at the end of doing a 30-minute program, I go into the video editing process and I create 3 to 4 minute messages that I upload to YouTube, GodTube, Facebook, all over the place. I'm uploading these videos. I try to upload something every day. Yes, every single day. Remember, people don't notice announcements, they notice consistency. And so this works for me. My 30-minute program, I have places I can cut that up where it's 3 or 4 minute messages. And so this works for me. So I just want to encourage you that whatever your idea is, whatever you think you would like to do, take a chance. Go out and do it. Just figure it out how to do it. I didn't, again, I'd never done anything like this before, but I had a general idea of what I wanted to do, and I learned the process. Okay, I want to share some of this with you. I like statistics. I like numbers. This is my YouTube page. Is that really in the Bible? This is where I'm uploading stuff every day, a 3 or 4 minute message. As you can see, 284 subscribers, 70,500 views. So, I forget how long I've been doing this, 4 years at least, but numbers mean something to me. It just does. And, sometimes we can get discouraged. We can look at, you'll notice there, okay, the Spirit World Part 4, only 18 views. I think sometimes we think, okay, what's the use? Why would I even bother doing something if all I'm going to get is 18 views? Well, you got to keep in mind that as time goes on, those views go way up. More and more and more people see this stuff. But, we got to be concerned about the impact that you can make on one person. It has to do with the quality of the material that you're presenting. If you could change a person's life, if you could bring a person to a point of connectivity with God, what would that be worth? What price would you put on that? So I don't think we just need to be concerned about numbers, but the quality of the stuff that you're putting out there. But again, I do like numbers, and numbers mean a lot to me. So this is my YouTube page here with over 70,000 views, let's say. Okay, this is GodTube. And now again, this stuff is free. GodTube, let's see, is that in the Bible? Let's see, what does it say? Okay, 64,000 views. 64,000 views on GodTube. Again, this is free. You know, just all it takes is some time. Now this is, let's see, this is SoundCloud. Now what I do is I upload all of my sermons. Again, we're talking about using social media in ministry, in evangelism, in the work of the church. I upload all of my sermons to SoundCloud. Now each one of these areas, each one of these medias, they stand alone. Okay, this is SoundCloud. It's for audio. You upload all. A lot of people use it for music. I use it to upload all of my messages, and it's a great place, like a library, to have where people can come and view this or see what you offer. And you'll notice 6,169 plays. Some of these, I don't know where these views come from. It's not. Now I do have them connected to my my website, interconnected with my website. That is the SoundCloud. SoundCloud is just a cloud where you upload your audio. Okay, SoundCloud. Another thing I want to mention about SoundCloud is this. You know, you might say, well, I don't give any sermons. I don't do sermons. Well, consider this. It's just a storage place, SoundCloud, really. That's all it is. But have you ever wanted to create, you know, a library of great sermons? You know, you hear a sermon, you think, that was an excellent sermon. You can have your own personal, on SoundCloud, library of great messages. You can upload them to SoundCloud, and then you can, you know, you could share them, as long as you're not trying to make money off the stuff, you know. But you could share that with other people that you know. Hey, I heard a great message. You ought to hear this message. Link it right to them. Send it an email to the link to the SoundCloud message. A lot of things that you can do here with the social media that is out there. One of the points I'm trying to make here is that there's never, through technology, there's never been a time when the ability to go ye therefore into all the world, the technology is here right now to do this. So, you know, I don't know if your church is using SoundCloud to do this or not. It's not necessarily something, people just find you out. I have followers on SoundCloud, people that like the stuff that I talk about. And you need to utilize this in the area. This is one of the medias that you can use, SoundCloud, to upload all of your messages. Now this is Vimeo. This is strictly for video. Now I upload all of my video programs, which are 30-minute programs, to Vimeo. And this is a year-end review here. 588 plays, 729 uploads, 13 likes, no comments as of yet. But you can tell, you know, where in the map there, you can sort of, it will show you where the listeners are coming from. So, you know, just uploading any type of video that you have from your church to Vimeo. People, you know, again, these media, all of these outlets stand on their own. And so you have people coming to these sites and Vimeo, SoundCloud, and viewing this information. Another thing here is I think is interesting is MediaFire. MediaFire is where I upload all of my literature, PDF literature. Now this doesn't really get any hits or anything like that, but I do want to mention this because what is cool about this is in sharing information. Let's say you're talking to someone by email and you can share, oh, I have a great booklet on that subject, and you can just link it right to them. Let's share that with them. So these are all clouds where you have, you know, all of your literature, all of your videos, all of your sermon audios. Okay, this is my Google page. I didn't even know I had a Google page, and I don't remember creating it either, but it's again, Google. All of my videos pop up here also. 46,280 views just from my Google account. I have people in my circle. I have people friends, you know. And any announcements you can make here also if you're having some type of special event. All right, this is my, let's see, is that really in the Bible? Facebook page. Okay, just this week it has 673 likes. And again, just sharing this stuff on your Facebook page. Little clips that I put up there, 2 or 3 minute messages where I take the 30-minute program and I divide it up into about 3 or 4 minute messages. One program lasts 30 minutes that I record. Okay, one 30-minute program will give me enough 3 or 4 minute messages to last all week long. I just cut them up and post these to all of these different outlets, these on social media. Okay, this is my website, Is That Really in the Bible? And you can see on the right there is all the connections to Facebook, Twitter, Google, Pinterest, YouTube, all that is interconnected there. Okay, so what am I talking about here? I'm talking about you utilizing these free media outlets here. Yes, you. Let me ask you a question. What does your Facebook page tell people about your convictions? Does it tell people anything about your convictions? That's a great place to share your convictions. I tell you what I think. I think we're afraid to share our convictions because a lot of the stuff that I put out there is hard-hitting, and there are some faithful people that I have who share my material, but I think it's just easier that we've sort of been spoiled as a people, and we sort of kick back and say, okay, let somebody else do this. Let my church, let my organization do this, and also let them take the heat for it also, while I get on with my life and do the things I want to do. I don't think that's the concept that you find in the Bible. I think everybody was involved. I don't think people came to Paul and said, here's a pile of money, you do the outreach for us. You do the evangelism for us. No. I think everybody was involved, and that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to get more people involved in this method of you utilizing this free media outlet. Okay, consider this. It takes $4 million a month to saturate the United States using television. That was a quote from Andrew Womack Ministry. $4 million a month to saturate the U.S. using television. Now, the bottom line is this. We don't have, even if you had $4 million a month, I don't think it would be being good stewards of God's money to spend that. I think there's a better way to do this. The way I'm trying to share with you is it doesn't cost that much, but it involves, you got to have people involvement in doing this. You got to have more than just one person doing this. And so that's what this special DVD is all about. Now, before I tell you some of the things that you can do, I want to go back to that statement. People don't notice announcements. They notice consistency. This is critical for us to understand. Saturation, perseverance. Saturation, perseverance. And a lot of times we try something for a week and we think, oh, that didn't work. That didn't work. Again, as I shared earlier with you, that we look at a view that maybe I only got, I uploaded a video to YouTube and it didn't go viral. Well, most videos don't go viral. But it's only 20 or 30 or 100 views. But again, you got to think about the impact you made on that one person. The impact that you made on that, just those 20 people is what you got to keep your focus on, not just numbers. So we're talking about different areas here of you getting involved with YouTube, GodTube, SoundCloud, Google, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, websites, building your own website, yes, MediaFire, all of these outlets here. Again, I know I'm wearing this statement out, but it's so important. People don't notice announcements. They notice consistency, saturation, perseverance. And here's the thing. Most churches out there, as far as mainstream, they don't utilize social media very much. And they're not that good at it either. And you think, well, why is that? Why don't churches that dot our land use this social media very much? And I think the reason is they have their churches. They have their churches. There are 450,000 churches that dot the landscape in the United States alone. There's 650,000 preachers in the United States. So they don't really need social media. They got their churches. And, really, you use social media when you've got something that needs to be said. If you have something to say, you'll be given the power to say it. And a lot of churches don't really have much to say beyond Jesus loves me, this I know, for the Bible tells me so. They don't really have a message, a passion, a conviction that I need to get this to the world. A lot of religion is just a religion of disbelief. In other words, let me tell you why I don't do this. Let me tell you why I don't do that. Let me tell you why I don't keep the Sabbath. I don't keep the holy days. I don't do any of that. Let me tell you why I don't do anything. So a lot of that's really not a message that you can sell. A religion of disbelief. Let me prove to you why I don't think any of that's true. So I think for the Church of God that this opportunity, again, this is the next 10 years is going to be critical. This is an opportunity that we will either sit on our hands and do nothing, or we'll take advantage of this opportunity. Okay, we're talking about you creating a 2 or 3 minute message. Question, why a 2 or 3 or 4 minute message? What's the significance of that, a short message? Well, this is the significance of that. People's attention span is extremely limited today. I think it's because of technology. You can get anything so quickly. You can get information so quickly on the internet. And it's created a society, immediate gratification, a fast food, quick service, Amazon, eBay, you order it and then they send you an email, your package is on the way. It's created a society with extremely limited attention span. Now, I'm not saying you can't do something longer. You can upload an hour and a half long sermon if you want to. Chances are nobody's going to listen to it. But here's the thing. You come in with a punch, hard-hitting punch. You hit hard and you leave town quickly. You come in with a hard-hitting message and then you leave contact information where people can get further, information. They can study more. They can study more literature or whatever. But I think today our society has such a short attention span, and that's why I'm emphasizing the short message. Now, I'm talking about you doing this. Okay, yes, you. Now, I have this model here that I use. This is a camera connected to an earth. It's actually plugged in by a USB port here from the camera. One of the first things you want to do is you want to go out and buy a camera. You can buy something like this at Sam's for $300. The only thing I would recommend, and it does a decent job, this camera, the only thing I would recommend is that it has an external, let's see, where is it at? An external input, right here it is, an external input for a microphone that you can attach, like the microphone I'm wearing here, cordless microphone, whatever. You're not just recording to the built-in microphone. It has an external input. That's one thing I would highly recommend. So you get you a camera and you create a 2 or 3 minute message. Okay, what do you talk about? Well, what enrages you? What upsets you? I know with me, a lot of times I get upset just listening to talk radio. I think I can't believe, this is going on in our society. I can't believe, or I'm listening to religion. I'm listening to some type of pablum this preacher is teaching. And I'm beating the steering wheel on my car. I'm talking, I'm preaching. I've actually had vehicles move off the road and let me go by them because they look in the rearview mirror and they say, what is this idiot doing? And I finally, after the third time, I caught on to what was going on. I got to quit doing this. But, what upsets you? What angers you? It's not that difficult to create a 3 or 4 minute message and then upload it to YouTube or Facebook or GodTube. Again, saturation, perseverance is the key. So we're talking about you creating a message. Not hard to do. Not really when you think about it. Okay, we're talking about you giving a message. Now, I'm going to show you how to give a message in about 1 minute's time without saying a word. Anybody can do this, okay? Because I mean, a lot of you are going to say, "Well, I can't speak, I can't preach, I can't do anything like that." Okay, here goes. I'm going to show you how to do this. All right. Okay, it took less than a minute, and I didn't have to say a word. Now, I've seen people do this on YouTube all the time, just put up postcards and to give a message. Now, from that point, you want to connect it up to an offer, maybe a good article on why Jesus didn't go to church on Sunday, the truth about the Sabbath, something like that. So you connect it up with something. You don't just leave people hanging. You got to get their attention. You got to come in and hit hard. You get their attention, and then you offer them something. So, this is something that is not impossible for you to do, male or female. Women are not excluded here. We're talking about the subject of evangelism. We're talking about the subject of perseverance, saturation, getting a message out there again and again and again and again, just dominating this free media that we have out there, social media, and getting a message out. And the impact that we can make if we work together, if we work together doing this, more than just one person doing it. Now, I sometimes think that one of the reasons when it comes to doing something like this, one of the things that's tough is we don't like to do it because we don't want to have to take the heat. When you put up stuff like this, when you expose yourself to giving truth or promoting the truth, you are going to be talked about. You're going to be taught. People are going to speak evil of you. People are going to say bad things about you, especially on YouTube and things like that. But you got to be willing to take that chance. You got to be willing to take that chance. So, all right. Again, we're talking about you creating a message, buying a camera, and you creating a message for the world. Your window to the world. Look at this model. Again, your window, you have the ability to communicate to the world. You have an ability to get your message, your conviction, to share your convictions with the world. Imagine if we had thousands of people doing this in God's church. Imagine if we had thousands of people doing this in God's church, the impact that would make. Okay, the simplicity of creating a 3 or 4 minute message for the purpose of evangelism, for the purpose of getting people's attention, it's very simplistic. It's not that hard to do. One of the things you're trying to do is create what I call an aha moment. If you think about your calling consisted of a series of aha moments. In other words, someone said something and you said, "What? You mean Jesus said no man has ascended to heaven?" Why, all of my life I've heard that people go to heaven when they die. So it was a statement. Jesus didn't go. Jesus said, "Think not that I've come to destroy the law." Well, I've heard all my entire life that the purpose Jesus came was to abolish the law, to nail it to the cross, whatever. So it was a series. If you think about your personal calling, it was a series of aha moments that got your attention. So with creating a 3 or 4 minute message, all you're trying to do is duplicate that. You're trying to get people to think. You're creating an aha moment. Aha! I never thought of that. And then, again, you connect it up with you allow them to go deeper by presenting something at the end of your video, a website, a Facebook page, a piece of literature, a church organization, whatever. You direct them to a place where they can gather more information. Nearly everything I offer is directed back to my main website called Is That Really in the Bible? But you know, you don't have to have your own website. You can have your own Facebook page, and you just direct people back to it. So again, you're just creating a simplistic message, creating an aha moment for people, something that a light bulb goes off in their head. Aha! I never thought of that. Now let's talk about your audience. YouTube, broadcast yourself. More than 1 billion unique users visit YouTube each month. That's a lot of people. In the next 30 days, we have the potential of reaching, well, let's say we have the potential of reaching 1 billion people absolutely free. That is, if we get enough people involved in this, of sharing your convictions with the world. Notice Facebook. Facebook receives 24 million unique visitors per day. Again, what does your Facebook page tell others about your convictions? Over 6 billion hours of videos are watched each month on YouTube. 100 hours of video are uploaded to YouTube every minute. Now, the point is, somebody's doing this. Now, I know a lot of stuff that you see on there is either, some of it's good, some of it's funny, a lot of it's stupid. But still, somebody is doing this. Somebody is they bought them a camera and they're sharing their ideas, their concepts. I'm amazed at what you can fix. I mean, the people that, I was working on a head gasket for a Saturn car, and there's a guy on there showing me every step to take to fix this thing. I mean, people are just using this constantly. Now, okay, what I'm talking about you doing is creating a 3 to 5 minute message. Now, to do this, I got to ask you a question. What stirs your emotions? What enrages you? You know, I'm telling you, I'm listening to talk radio, and you know, a lot of the stuff that I hear on talk radio is, you know, Rush Limbaugh, Hannity, Glenn Beck. You know, sometimes I think those guys are giving more of a warning and witness than the Church of God is giving. I mean, it was a program I was listening to by Glenn Beck, and he went into a mode and started preaching almost. But it was powerful. It's powerful. I just feel like that, you know, especially in the area of politics, that we're sort of just, we feel like we can't go in that direction for some reason. You know, we just say, oh, we shouldn't go in that direction. But listen, you know, when we give Iran the capability to wipe us off the map and fund the cause by giving them money, that's not Democrat, that's not Republican, that's rank stupidity. And we need to call it what it is. I think we need to deal with issues of politics, and not that you're for this person or that. I'm not talking about that. But when politicians do things that are really stupid, we need to call it out and talk about it and tie it into the Word of God. So what enrages you? What stirs your emotions, you know? Okay, what are some of the things that we can do? This one is creating images. Again, a picture says more than 1,000 words could ever say. To me, I'm a visual person. So let me give you some examples of this. This takes some creativity here. This is something that you can use a lot on Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, images like this. So I'm going to give you some examples here. Here's one. Children will believe anything. Children will believe anything. How to identify a false prophet. All right, Isaiah 8 and verse 20. To the law and to the testimony. If they speak not according to this word, it is because there is no light in them. Could you do this? Could you come up with an image in your mind and put a scripture quote with it? Oh, absolutely. Oh, here's another. Children will believe anything. Now, again, you take advantage of some of the pagan holidays as the seasons roll around. You think about, what could I do? What kind of image, what kind of concept could I get out to help people understand, to share my convictions, Again, do people let's say people that see your Facebook page, do they think you're just part of the crowd that follows the traditions of the world? What does your Facebook tell people about your convictions? Here's one I put together. It took about 5 minutes to put this together. Very early in history, the dominant Christian churches made a transition from Sabbath to Sunday. The holy days fell into disuse, and Easter and Christmas became the two great celebrations. Powerful concept. Now, what's interesting about all this is that in the picture, for example, Facebook or wherever you put it, you can make a link to a good article. Again, I talked about using MediaFire. There's a reason I have all of my literature uploaded to MediaFire PDFs, because I connect this stuff up with a great article that will explain it more in detail. This one was at a church where I live. I nearly ran out of the road, had to turn around, come back, take a picture of it. I usually carry a camera in my vehicle. Pig roast, September 24th. Okay, put some words to it. Do you know why Jesus would not attend your church pig roast? Powerful concept. Imagery. Here, imagery. Here's a little collection of pictures I put together. You and I were born into a ready-made world of religion. You didn't make this stuff up. You didn't say, I think Santa Claus and gift swapping is a good way to honor the Savior. No, you and I didn't make this stuff up. Again, perseverance, saturation. You're coming up with creative ways to get a message out there. What can you do? There's no limitations in the things that you can do. All it takes is a little bit of creativity and utilizing these, the media that we have, the social media that we have out there that is available to us. Here's another concept right here. This was a theatrical thing that we did called The Haunted Church. The Haunted Church, I sort of took people into the future. The year is 2066. There are no churches. What happened? And it was a concept that the churches had so preached that the law's been abolished, has been nailed to the cross, there's nothing you must do, that the churches become eventually useless because of their message. It was the message that destroyed all the churches. Now here, we took our church, the Rocky Mountain Church of God, and we fixed it up. I had several people involved in this theatrical video. It was a blast to do. There's my brother-in-law. He played the part of the preacher, and I turned him into a skeleton. There's a skeleton on a stand right there. I turned the preacher into a skeleton. We had flamethrowers right there on the buckets. You see those two buckets? That's a flamethrower I made. And there I am recording in the dark, and so this was really a great thing you can do. I mean, teenagers can come up with this stuff and put together some type of video and offer some kind of material at the end of it. Now here's another concept that is sort of worn out, but here's myself with a couple other ministers, and we did a little program about the subject of hell. And that was fun also. But that concept is sort of, it's sort of old and fading out. That is, sitting behind a desk, discussing the Bible. And, that's sort of, I think we're to the point now where we really need to shout it from the rooftop and share our convictions and put it out there. No matter what if it costs us some embarrassment, okay, so what? There's never been a time when we could be doing so much and are actually doing so very little, especially with the technology that is out there today, the things that we could be doing. And I think it's time for us to be bold, to come out of the closet, to quit hiding behind our religious organization, thinking one person, one man, one organization can do it, thinking one style can do it. I've often said that I can only reach the people that David Freeman is supposed to reach. And you can only reach the people that you're supposed to reach. But we're all in this together. And, with some of the statistics that I've shown you earlier, with, I'm sure if you put everything I've got together, all the media that I use, all the outlets that I use that are basically free, I've got hundreds of thousands of views. But suppose you took that 100,000 and times 10. Well, you'd have 1 million right there. Or 100,000 times 100. You see, the impact that we could make with more people involvement is incredible. We could saturate our society with a message. I think also our message needs to be without apology. Without apology. Nice guy, we're beyond just being a nice guy. The concept of I report, you decide. I was back several years ago, I was at my mother's, and she has cable TV, I don't, but it was a guy on there talking about Christmas, and he was not Church of God. I don't think he was Church of God at all. But he had truth about the Christmas, and he was going through the Saturn, he was going through the origins of Christmas, he was going through, he was right in line. Everything he said was the truth. But he was such a nice person. He was trying so hard not to offend, not to upset anyone. And his approach was, I report and you decide. You see, here's the thing. When you take that approach, the carnal mind will always decide according to the inclinations of the carnal mind. The carnal mind will say, okay, yeah, I see Christmas is pagan, but I'm going to keep it anyway. So we've got to be bold in this area. And we got to put ourselves on the line, so to speak. So as God's people, I'm inviting you to join me in this endeavor to evangelize. Hey, let's evangelize the world. Let's turn the world upside down. Let's get people questioning these things and asking questions and questioning their minister at their local church they go to. I'm asking you to join me in this endeavor to evangelize the world. For me personally, I always felt that I was never good at one-on-one. And so, to me, this has been a way sort of that I compensate, that I get involved doing things every single day, uploading stuff every single day, to try to make up for the fact that I feel that one-on-one I'm really not that good at bringing people to the awareness of God or evangelism or anything like that. So I use social media. I use a lot of it. I use all kinds of things to communicate a message to the world. And here's what I realize. Again, I'm just one person, but I would like to have a lot more people in God's church on board, men and women, doing basically the same thing. Using social media to spread a message, using every opportunity that we get to get the word out, to get God's truth to a sin-sick, dying world. So together, we can accomplish, I think it's unreal, the possibilities that we have. If we take advantage of this for such a time as this, if we work, and it involves work, again, I'm doing something every single day, taking time. A lot of times it's early in the morning. I'm uploading stuff. You get up an extra hour in the morning earlier, but persistence, consistency. Again, people don't notice announcements. They notice consistency. And so, will you put your hand to the plow and join me in this effort?
If you would like more information, or if you have any questions, write to Is That Really in the Bible? 27 Brookledge Lane, Rocky Mount, Virginia, 24151. Or visit us on the web at isthatreallyinthebible.net.